This is Providence Television International, the toast of today's television viewers. Don't be left out.
Good day and welcome to the newspaper analysis segment on the Morning Drive, Providence Television International. My name is Ugbebo Ikikwa, and with me in the studio is Dr. Emmanuel Igariba. You're welcome.
Yes, always a pleasure of mine to be here. I'm very happy to be here, particularly because today is Monday, it's the first day of the working week, and I guess we're all going to have an exciting working week indeed. Thank you very much.
And so we go down to the front page of the newspapers. We'll be starting with the Nigerian Observer, where we have a screaming header there, workers anxious in 22 states amid silence on new minimum wage. Rising cost of living reduces impact of new wage.
22 states out of 36. That's quite an issue, obviously. It's quite an issue because I thought by now at least about 30 states should have keyed into this new dispensation. But that tells us a lot about the agreement reached by the Nigerian Labour Congress and the various state governments. This is a national thing, really. And I don't think that any state should be in a position to remove it from its workings. I don't think so. Particularly now that some states have even increased it. Some have said 72,000, some have said 73, some have even said 75. Yes. And I think Rivers is talking about 80% under Fubara. Right. So there's no reason whatsoever for other states to renege on this. And I guess that should be the headache of the Nigerian Labour Congress. I don't think that they dialogued enough with the state governments.
Okay.
Otherwise, again, we'll be talking about work stoppages. But I don't think that's what we need at the moment. What we need is a very strong commitment on the side of the state governments. But I understand that even the federal government has not started paying as such.
It's to start off from the end of this month.
From the end of this month, I hope so. So that should be the beacon that all the states should look up to. If the federal government does not pay, then it will be an excuse for some state governments not to pay. But I imagine that the federal government will abide by its promises. The state governments, most of them have the capacity, I should think, because the money accruing to the state governments has increased, almost exponentially. So there's no reason why they shouldn't pay. And I guess obviously the Nigerian Labour Congress should be in a position now to tell the state governments that everything's on the table for them to be able to pay. Okay? I don't envisage any work stoppage, quite frankly, I don't.
Okay.
Yes, I don't.
But the states the state governments that are saying that they can't pay, what happens? How do they generate the money?
Well, it will now depend on what they are telling the Labour Congress.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, they must open their books and let the Labour Congress know exactly what is happening. It is after that, really, that I imagine that something drastic should be done. They should be fair enough, they should be honest enough to tell the Labour Congress that they cannot pay. But again, you see, some state governments are extravagant. They can't pay salaries, and yet you see their governors living a flamboyant lifestyle, doing things that run contrary to this objective. I believe that virtually every state can pay 70,000. I believe so, particularly because more money is accruing to them at the moment.
All right. We'll move to the front page of this day newspapers, where we have hardship not caused by Tinubu. He will leave lasting legacy for Nigerians. This is coming from Senator Akpabio.
Senator Akpabio again has said that. Senator Akpabio again has said that, and I hope, truly speaking, I hope he can defend it. He has to, because he's a member of the APC, is the head of the legislature, but his utterances must be guided by the truth and by statistics. Okay? Excuse me. We do not imagine that whatever he says should be subjected to controversy. Yes. And they should be out of that completely.
Okay.
Should be out of controversy. But if you say, yes, the Tinubu administration did not start this, what happened before? I mean, people have said, and quite rightly, that President Tinubu was part of the previous administration. In fact, I know that he was the national leader of the APC while Buhari was here. So it's neither here nor there, really. I think we can leave it in abeyance,
Okay.
hoping that whatever he has said now will come out to fruition at the end of the day.
All right. And that takes us to the second story on the front page of this day newspapers. Chief of Army Staff, Taoreed Lagbaja, speaks to Tinubu on health status. President prays for his quick recovery as Army dismisses death rumor as fake news.
I have been quite sad over this incident. It's coming from one source, and it's gone viral, unfortunately. But then again, I think that the Army High Command has a lot to do with this. Yes, we pray that he's alive. We pray very seriously that he's alive. But they are saying that people have been angling now to take over the position.
Exactly.
Okay? And there's an acting man in that capacity at the moment.
Yes.
Meaning that they don't want to have a vacuum, which is good. But on the other hand, yes, we are told that he had a discussion with the president. Why couldn't they have a recording of it?
Okay.
For instance, a recording of him maybe on his sick bed. There's nothing wrong with that. Just to show that, yes, the man is alive, he's recovering, and the whole nation will pray for him. They will pray for his recovery. It's not bad, really, if they did that. It couldn't have been bad. It would just have been there to buttress what they themselves have been saying, that the man is alive. So luckily, if he was able to speak with the president, yes, that was a golden opportunity for us to know that, yes, the man is in good shape and he has been able to talk with the Commander-in-Chief. A discussion between the Chief of Army Staff and the Commander-in-Chief should not be hidden. No, it should not. I mean, by protocol. And, I mean, even on the basis of morality, it should not be hidden at all. It should be in such a way that, yes, to dissuade people from having all kinds of feelings and all kinds of opinions. He's a high-profile personality in this administration, and anything about him should be in the public domain. Okay, he's the head of the army, for instance. The army is the oldest of the arms, the three arms: the army, the air force, and the navy. So if is the one in charge of the army, nothing should be hidden about it. You know, we keep too many secrets in this country, too many secrets, and personalities such as the Chief of Army Staff are always in the public domain. If something happens to him, the public should know, because he's the #1 military officer in this country. All right. So I don't believe that the army did well by even concealing the discussion with the president, who happens to be the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. So if they didn't do that, I think it's an opportunity for them to do it. Yeah.
All right, we move to the Voice of Liberty newspapers. National grid to be handed over to independent operators. This is coming from the federal government.
Are we going the same way again? Are we going this same way again? Because we tried it with private investors in Nepal. I mean, look at where we are in this country today. All right. So if we want to hand over the grid to private people, I will not subscribe to that.
Okay.
I would rather say that it will be a combination, both government and the organized private sector.
Okay.
Not just fully in the hands of private investors. And in any case, this is a political period. How are we sure that even the private people coming in are not cronies of the administration? That's what happened when Jonathan was here. You remember, I mean, they were giving some of these things to girlfriends and all sort of people. We do not want a situation where the grid will go into the wrong hands. It's a very important asset in our national life. I mean, electricity is not something, power is not something you toy with, okay? The government should be involved, even if they are letting go and go into the hands of private people. The government should, I mean, it should be a bilateral kind of arrangement, both the government and the organized private sector, so there can be some monitoring of what is going on. That's what happens elsewhere, all right? But it's a good idea. I'm not saying it's not a good idea, except that in this country, how much trust do we have on people who will be brought in? That's the issue.
Exactly.
How much trust? Because we have had experiences in this country, right from PACN to I don't even know what they call it now.
The distribution
distribution
network and all
sorts
that.
of stuff. So it's a bit confusing. But I think we should. Why can't we even go back to the days of ECN, Electricity Corporation of Nigeria, back into time? Things were working. Things were working in this same country. That's why I keep saying that we missed it somewhere down the line. ECN was working. But I think the problem is after the Civil War, people started coming back. I will tell you, and I will let the viewers know this. They didn't do their homework to know that after the Civil War, people were going to come back. So it's the same equipment they were using that they kept in the system after the Civil War. All right? And there was an upsurge of people. People were going to rebuild. They were going to have all kinds of facilities. And population is increasing exponentially. So when in the 60s, 70s, we were talking about 100 million. Now you're talking about 200 million. Every household in this country uses appliances.
Exactly.
So they should have prepared for that, for the upsurge. They didn't. If you go to some facilities today, you see have ECN equipment dating back to years ago. So it's a total rejuvenation that we're talking about.
All right.
Let everything turn around. New equipment, that's what we're talking about. Brand new equipment. It costs money. It costs money, but it's a major investment. Government can invest in it. And then invite private sector to come and, for equity, for instance, on the basis of equity. That would be better, rather than hand over the whole facility to them.
To them.
Yes.
Okay. We'll talk more on this subsequently today. First, on the front page of the Daily Trust, commercial drivers, orders, tax government on infrastructure refueling stations.
Infrastructure, well, is there any rider? Can we get
no rider to that effect?
To that effect, but I think they're talking about the stations.
Yes.
Special stations reserved for CNG.
CNG.
Yes, I think that's what they're talking about. Are we prepared for that? Did we condition our environment for that? That's what they are saying. Because you see, PMS is different from CNG. There are two different facilities. Do we have enough facilities to deal with CNG in this country?
Okay.
All right. That's what they are saying. Okay. And I think they are right in their assertion. They're absolutely right. We always put the cart before the horse in this country. The same thing happened, well, I'm sorry to digress, the same thing happened to 6334 system of education. Brilliant idea, brilliant. But we're not prepared for it in terms of infrastructure. And that's why the system just went to the wind. This time, I'm sure they should have done all of that first. I'm sure you're talking about CNG now. Many of the stations do not have the facilities.
That's true.
They don't. Some of the dealers don't even know what it looks like. They don't, because they have never dealt with that. They only have facilities for PMS. And yeah, these things must go round. I mean, if you are sure that's going to take the place of PMS, and I'm sure it can't, because not every vehicle is conditioned for that. All right. So I want to support what they are saying, and government should do the needful by establishing more facilities, and I guess that's what they mean by infrastructure. That way, it will be more accessible to people. And there must be a lot of enlightenment. People should desist from these roadside welders.
Yes.
That caused some problem in Edo State the other day. Nigerians are just, sometimes we are very funny people. Look, let me tell you something that I saw about 2 years ago. A small car, a very small car. They constructed a tank, double the capacity of that car, and they were pouring fuel into it. I mean, you can imagine. They constructed it. Yes. They constructed it and they put it inside the boot of the car, you know. And that kind of thing, the people who manufacture the car know the capacity of that car, maybe about 30 liters or something. Now they constructed something that will take about 100 liters. If something happens, everything is gone, including human lives.
Exactly.
So Nigerians, even though we say we are innovative, that is wrong innovation.
Seriously
wrong innovation.
Seriously wrong innovation. Like the last incident, it was based on the construction, local construction.
It was local construction. Yes. It was local. It was fabricated. Yes, that's why the thing caught fire. You know, and people were saying, "Oh no, we don't." See, we must have alternatives. That's what I'm saying. I mean, in those days when we were young, I remember vividly. You will go into a filling station. They will ask you, "What do you want? Is it super or ordinary?"
Yeah.
Yes, and different pumps. Those things have disappeared. They will ask you, "Is it ordinary you want or super?" Yes, super was obviously more expensive, right? But there were cars that could take super. There were cars that could take ordinary. I mean, and that's the road we should follow at this moment. Because if you go, I imagine that if you go to any station, the two should operate side by side. Yes, it's more meaningful that way. It should operate side by side. Okay. If you have a tank that's configured for CNG, you just go into a filling station and go that way. I don't think there are more than maybe 4 or 5 in the whole of Benin for CNG. That's the way they're up to. And yet you are talking about conversion. Where do we go from here?
Well, front page, Vanguard newspapers. Federal government's zero-duty food imports faces fresh hurdles.
There are riders there. Can we get to know the riders?
Well, the riders to that effect, I did not actually want to come up with the riders.
Well,
to
anyway,
that, yes.
But the headline says it all. Which means that the zero stuff didn't work. It has been facing a lot of hurdles. Oh, but this is simple, really. This is very simple. It means that the customs and excise should really be up and doing, you know. And that depends really on the customs department.
Okay.
All right. There's a lot of sleaze going on at the ports. That we all know. But at the same time, government has been so benevolent. I mean, obviously, this must be applauded. But where did it go wrong? That's the question we should be asking. Facing a lot of hurdles, meaning that some of these hurdles may be administrative, okay, and they could also be operational. You know, so, but in a few days to come, in the next few days to come, I think we'll get to know better.
All right. Well, I want to say at this point, thank you so much for staying tuned. But don't go away, as the interview segment comes up next.